Welcome to Be Truly Heard with me, coach and voice expert Anne Leatherland. If you're a woman in business looking to speak with authority, warmth and authenticity, this is the podcast for you. We'll explore valuable personal growth strategies alongside vocal skills, so you can overcome confidence barriers and communicate what's inside. Your voice matters. It's time to be truly heard. Hello and welcome. In this episode of Be Truly Heard, we're turning our attention to social media and what it really means to show up as yourself online. Because while these platforms can feel like they're asking you to be louder or slicker or more polished, the truth is that the most powerful presence often comes from something much simpler and something more human. Now, I'm joined by my wonderful guest, Karen Cureton, today of Cureton Consulting, who brings a refreshingly grounded approach to social media. I've known her for years, and I know the quality and the value of her work. Together today, we'll explore how to share your ideas with clarity, connect without overthinking, and build a presence that actually feels like you. So welcome, Karen. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Anne. Lovely to be here. Really lovely to see you today.
It is. We've had a lovely little catch up before the session as well, haven't we? Which has been good. And thanks for turning up when I know you've got a head cold and you're feeling a little bit
Yeah,
under the
slightly,
throat there.
slightly husky today. Slightly
Yeah.
husky. I was channeling you with my steamer though earlier today.
That's good. Steaming's great. I hope you give yourself a bit of a rest vocally later on
Mm,
as well to
mm.
just get over that. So, I'm really interested in starting with the idea of voice on social media because we often think of it as just words or a video on a screen. But from my perspective, voice is always an expression of the whole person. So, when we think about that online, Karen, what does that mean to you beyond the words that we write or say?
Oh, it's such a huge topic, isn't it, Anne?
It is, it's massive.
I
Oh,
mean,
we're going to be.
I hate to use the A word, authentic,
Mm,
but I'm going to use it. But I think it's that reality. It's very much about being real. In fact, I was doing something yesterday, and I said to the people I was chatting to yesterday, I said, "Do you know what it is? You need to find your voice, I
mm,
think is part of it. But sometimes we have that, that natural reserve that I don't, oh, nobody wants to listen to me. We have to get over ourselves a bit. And I remember about 8 years ago, in fact, it was just over 8 years ago, we were on holiday in Thailand for my lovely dad's 80th. And I was talking to somebody at the hotel about social media. And I said, and this is before AI became the
yeah,
thing that
yeah.
everybody defers to. Somebody said yesterday, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to how to do that. Well, that's not you. Anyway, what I said was people engage with people. They don't
Mm,
necessarily engage with a brand. They will engage with the tone of voice, with the personality of that person. So I said, when I get home, I'm going to start and go live. And I started going live every single week on LinkedIn, YouTube,
yes.
and Facebook, and have been ever since. In fact, yesterday I didn't because I didn't feel really up to it. But pretty much every single Monday I go live, and it's me talking to people. And I think this is one of the things from a social media perspective, and I will link AI into it because people need to get us. And some of us are Marmite. Some of us might look at me and go, "Oh, she's like she didn't grow up with the internet. What does she know about this social media stuff?" But actually, when you're talking to people, and I always talk. I have somebody when I'm live. I always have somebody in mind that I'm talking to.
It's a really good tip.
And
Really
I
good tip.
think about that person. It may be a current client, maybe a previous client. It may be our mutual former business coach. It could be anybody that I'm thinking about because I'm talking to them as a person, not as somebody I want to be a future client. I'm just talking to them as what are their challenges? How do they feel? You know, I often talk about one of the biggest issues I have with social media, and particularly on Instagram and TikTok, which I'm not touching, is it's all, oh, look at me. Look at me. Aren't I fabulous? I can't bear It's so narcissistic. Whereas when you're a service provider, people are get a feel for you. Like we were saying before we came on air, is people want to build that relationship, and that relationship comes through being real, honest, and transparent. And that's for me personally,
Mm.
love it or loathe it, that's the way I see myself. I say, you know, I'm straight talking. I love the word you use, grounded. I've not thought about using that word, but straight talking, honest and transparent. So when you're talking to people, they know exactly where they stand with you.
Yes.
And you can use social media to great power and value to build that relationship, can't you?
Absolutely, we can. And whether that's through a live or a video or
Mhm.
actually a written word, we can still bring our voice out through that. In fact, earlier in the series, I had Katie Skelton speaking about email. And you'll laugh when I tell you this because you know how much I hated email. And I've begun to find my email voice. And that realness, if you want to put it
Mhm.
that way,
Mhm.
is so important. That
Mhm.
storytelling, that feeling that people get that you are speaking to them.
Mhm.
And actually, when we come from a place of integrity, we are speaking to them as a person
100%.
and forming a relationship because I think that's the best way to work. What's the point in winning clients if when you get to the point of working with them, you're really not the right person? There's no point at all, as you mentioned, the Marmite thing. And I'm sure both of us are Marmite to somebody.
Mhm.
They either love us or they hate us. And it's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I mean, there's a young woman that I know. Um, and she has really narrowed down her audience, which is
Mm,
what a lot of us have done. You know, you've done it, I've done it. And she's really interesting as a social media trainer, is she does social media for introverts. So she's really narrowed it down because for them, finding their voice is harder. I don't
absolutely.
find it difficult. Because I come from like 20 plus years in sales, I'm used to that rapport building that you have to do when you're selling anything, whether it's a product, whether it's a service. But not everybody has that benefit. And
No.
there is a learned element, I think, you know, when you talk about your voice and how you express yourself,
Mm,
the power of that is so important.
yes. Because it comes from me. I mean, you know me and you've known me for a number of years. And to me, in the beginning, sales was like, oh, I can't do that. That's nasty. I can't go networking. I'd never go networking. And I can see how my journey has taken me over the
You've
past. I've
really, you know,
really grown.
you
Yeah.
think about from when we first met and you were completely different person to how you are now. But I think I don't call it sales. I call it business development.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't say that, you know, I'm factoring in some business development time. So when somebody contacts me and asks me to help support them, maybe run their socials for them, I'll say, do you want some business development time within that? Because that's the special stuff.
Yes.
That's when you have that, but you have to then find their voice.
Yes.
And that's the hard bit. But I think for us as business owners, finding our voice sometimes it takes time. Like, you know, you were honest enough to say that was for you. I think having that confidence and courage of your convictions, people can sense it if you're not really feeling it.
They can, absolutely. And part of my work now is as a result of that journey.
Mm,
And it's the reason why I want to help the women that I help. Whereas when
mm,
I started out, I knew that I wanted to help people with their voices, but it was a lot more diffuse. It was bigger.
Mm.
And that
Mm.
zoning in has been so important. And that doesn't mean that other people can't find me, and they do.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's just that we have that focus. And then there's an energy, I think, that goes with that focus, isn't there, Karen, that sort of carries
yeah.
across
Yeah,
what we
and
do.
oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, we were talking before we came on, that, I largely network with women because the majority of my perfect people I love working with are women. But it doesn't mean to say if a man can't. In fact, I've got a call this afternoon with a guy who contacted me through my website, and honestly, just even the tone of his writing, I remember. The lovely Michelle Walsh said this to me years ago, and I still use it today. I don't think he and I are the right fit for each other.
Mm.
I don't think he's the right fit for me. I could be very wrong, but even, he is a perfect example. It's about something he's been charged with putting a strategy together for a business. And he said, I want to look at Snap. Didn't call it Snapchat, Snap, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And that scattergun approach is not going to land. It's
No.
not going to get results. And I actually went back to him and said, I've just reread your pre-session notes. Just to be clear, I only train Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you're looking for a broad spectrum approach, you may want to speak to somebody like an agency who has multiple skill sets in there. But I would also question
Mm.
how much you know of your demographic, because I'm just straight talking. I say how it is. I thought I'm not wasting half an hour speaking to this man. If he thinks he can wave a magic wand and multi-channel approach is going to get everybody that he wants.
Sure. I mean, it might come from a complete misunderstanding about how social media works, or it could be just I'll throw spaghetti at the wall until some of it
Well,
sticks.
that was my sense exactly. But it's that finding that voice is so critical. And I think when you are looking at larger organizations, it's much harder for them.
Yeah.
Much harder for them.
Yeah, because they have to work within the branding and the branding
Yeah,
values of the
yeah. But saying
organization,
that,
don't they?
I'm working with a really interesting business at the moment. She's a very well respected Leicestershire businesswoman. You would love her. Can't say who it is, but
No.
she is quite a woman. I remember the first time I met her in person, which was about 4 years ago, and I said, I want to be like you when I grow up, is what I said to her. She is the sort of woman we talk about voice. She has that physical presence when she walks into the room, and the minute she opens her mouth, she'd be a great actually guest for you.
I
The
think I
minute
know
she,
who it is, so yeah, I'll ask
the,
her.
the minute she opens her voice, people are captivated. But finding her voice on social media is a challenge.
Yes.
And that's an interesting challenge because I think for marketeers, visibility experts, agencies, whoever, finding that voice for either a bigger brand or a very specific type of brand is quite difficult.
I think it is. And I think it's quite common, especially with women, that they feel a gap between
Mm.
who they are in real life and how they show up online. And
Oh, yeah.
it's about closing that gap. How do you think we can do that, Karen? What do you think we need to do?
I think, and not everybody, we're going back to Marmite, not everybody agrees with this, but my ethos is to be absolutely be real, be relevant, be you, because there's no other version of you. And it was like I was asked to do a piece of work about 6 weeks ago, and I turned it down because it didn't sit with my values.
Yeah.
Because I'm true at the heart of everything about being honest and transparent and not doing something just because the money's good. It's
Yes.
got to feel right for me and my business. I've been running my business for what, 16 years now, full time. It's a long time and I've got a lot of experience. But I think when you show up and you are honest, and one of my lovely ladies was saying to me the other day, "Oh, I feel like I'm doing nothing. I'm not putting anything on my socials." And I said, "Isn't just about putting content out there. You've got to be comfortable with it.
Mm,
You've got to feel as though it's right for you. But what else are you doing? Because my word of the year, as we've touched on earlier, is visibility.
mm,
What else are you doing to make your people aware of who you are and how you can support their growth, whether it's physical, mental, monetary, whatever it is for that person. But I think it's about being really honest. And in this world of I think that becomes even more important
yes. I think,
because they can't replicate you.
no, it can't.
Yeah,
It can be a very useful tool, I find, if I've written something and I'll just say, scan this. Scan
100%.
this for spelling, scan this for structure. Can you make it a bit shorter? What would I do?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
keep my voice,
absolutely.
keep my way of saying it. Absolutely. Or
Yeah,
sometimes I ask it
100%.
for ideas and I say, I'm looking for a topic around XYZ. What do you suggest? Or a few questions.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think
I
that's a
totally
really
agree.
good use of
I
it.
think it's, I think for a small business, it's a phenomenal tool. The best thing I ever did was train a custom GPT in my
Mm.
tone of voice. And now it means that the
Oh, I'm
output I
impressed.
get, hmm?
I'm impressed.
Yes. So the output I get is Karenisms. I call it Karenisms. It's got Karenisms in it. So it feels very much like me.
Yes.
And that is, I think, the mistake people make with AI for their social media is that has, if you, unless you've done that work in the back, it's like everything. You know, you wouldn't build a house without putting foundations in.
No.
If you're going to ask a copywriter to write your content, you would give them a detailed brief.
Mm.
Just
Mm.
the same as how can AI produce a piece of content without having some sort of brief? As
Yeah.
intelligent as it is, and it's not foolproof.
No, it's not. And a previous guest of mine, Wendy Garcars, mentioned that this AI, it's programmed by men, you know. So if you want a woman's voice to come across, you're going to have to put a woman's voice in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the best thing I did last year was I was taught how to create a custom GPT
Yeah.
and it was absolutely fantastic. And I now have two. I have one that is for my social content, and one which is for my emails because it's a different tone of voice. And I think, you know, finding our voice as businesses is about so many different elements. And I think we were talking about this before. It's the challenge of, you know, we're like juggling all these plates
Yeah.
and but which plates do we need to prioritize?
Mm. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with having the right plate, if you like, for the right
Mm,
person. Because if we go into different situations to speak physically,
mm,
we change what we do according to the situation. We do what's appropriate
mm,
for the situation. So the way we're chatting now is very close to the way that we would speak
mm,
as friends and colleagues,
mm,
but not exactly the same because it's not right for the purpose that we're making the recording.
mm,
And that's fine, just as long as all those plates are your plates, as long as they all sound like you,
mm.
whether it's
Very
your
much so.
email or your content or whatever.
Mm,
And I think sometimes people subtly hold themselves back
mm.
on social media as well without realizing it.
Yeah, yeah, I would
Uh,
agree with that. I think as Brits, and obviously there'll be people outside of Britain listening to this, but as Brits, we're naturally quite conservative.
yeah, we are.
And I think there is that thing, you know, I've one of my mantras is, but what if we did this? And what if your future client read that and it resonated with them and they got a sense of that you get them, you understand them, you're talking to them here. You know, when I used to teach people to sell, we used to use feel, felt, found because
Mm,
about the emotions. And with what you do, to a lesser degree, what I do, it's about that emotional connection is so important.
it
And by
really is.
using our voice, we can translate that.
Yes, we can. And I talk a lot about our nervous system and our internal state and how that influences how we sound when we speak. And that carries across, I think, to how we show up online as well.
Mm, mm,
Our emotional state when we write something or when we do a live or when we do an
mm,
interview like
mm.
this is all going to make a difference. And
100%.
so it's that thing about understanding our emotional states and where they come from, and then going back into the head and saying, hey, hang on, I've got everything I need to do this, everything I need to
Yeah.
succeed. This is just an emotion, this is just a
Mm.
feeling.
I know. I know. In fact, the guy who I was touching on earlier before we came on to record, we were talking about how people are frightened of networking.
Yeah.
And he said when he started networking 20 years ago, he reframed that into instead of being nervous, to being excited.
Yes, it is. It exactly is about being excited. We have this adrenaline surge
Mm.
and it sets us on a tightrope like this. So I think most performers, I've worked a lot with performers, as you know, and I'm not saying we should be performing when we're online or when we're speaking to people, but when we're out there, it's like an enhanced version of us.
Oh yeah,
And we need to keep
100%.
that adrenaline on the right side, otherwise we drop off into, oh, I can't do this, can't do it.
I totally agree. When I'm getting ready for work, I work like a lot of us, I work from home, but I get dressed and I see myself as dressing for a role.
Yes.
The person who is showing up online with my clients is, you're absolutely right, a version of me.
Yes.
But the really, really cheeky, quite sweary Karen doesn't come out until I'm off duty and I've shut the offices of Curitin Consulting. I'm lucky enough that I've got an office and